Hi, everybody. It's Wednesday evening, and this is our Wacky Wednesday Why Wait for Recovery evening community meeting. I said that sideways. And my name is Dr. Felice Cellini, and welcome.
Hi, my name is Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. And we get together every Wednesday and Sunday to discuss recovery. I am a food addict. I'm an emotional eater. I'm a binger. I'm a purger. I'm a compulsive overeater. I am a drug addict in recovery. And this is a place that we get to discuss how we do things and how we stay in recovery.
That's so cool. And I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic. And we're both in recovery, and everybody is here doing their best to do their best to stay in recovery.
Right.
And you want to talk? Because I have so much to say tonight.
I know. So one of the things I really wanted to talk about is when I was called fat. And when people call me fat, okay, and I really get stuck in that self-pity. And I read such a great reading that I wanted to share with everyone. So this is not a traditional meeting, just so you know. We are addicts in recovery. We talk from the heart. This is not an NEA meeting, but we did get clean in the room, so we're very happy referring back to it and sending people back to wherever they need to be healthy and happy. If you do want to join us in the conversation, you can hop onto Zoom. We live stream on Facebook. This is a safe space. We have people in the room with us. We have people from around the country joining us. And please feel free to comment and to share us. So it was a great reading today. It's called Self-Pity or Recovery. It's our choice. This is taken from Narcotics Anonymous. I am a proud member. In addition, so self-pity is one of the most destructive of defects. It will drain us of all positive energy. In active addiction, many of us use self-pity as a survival mechanism. We didn't believe there was an alternative to living in our disease, or perhaps we didn't want to believe. As long as we feel sorry for ourselves and blame someone else for our troubles, we didn't have to accept the consequences of our actions. Believing ourselves powerless to change, we didn't have to accept the need for change. Using this survival mechanism kept us from entering recovery and led us closer day by day to self-destruction. Self-pity is a tool of our disease. We need to stop using it and learn instead to use the new tools we find. We have come to believe that effective help is available for us when we seek that help. Self-pity is displaced by gratitude. Many tools are at our disposal, including step work, the support of our sponsors, the fellowship of other recovering addicts, and the care of our higher power. The availability of these tools is more than enough to be grateful. We no longer live in isolation without hope. We have certain help at hand for anything we may face. The surest way to become grateful is to take advantage of the help that is available to us. Just for today, I'll be grateful for the hope that program has given me. I will cultivate my recovery and stop cultivating self-pity.
So, so when we talk about self-pity, we talk about being a victim. Actually, that's what when I hear that, that's what it reminds me of. How when we're in active addiction, it's like, oh, we feel so sorry for ourselves. And whatever's going on in the world is happening to us. It's not happening around us. And so this happened, and you said this, and you did this, and everything is all about me, and poor, 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 pitiful me. And I get to feel nice and sorry for myself and sit in all of that and be the victim and pay attention to that, as opposed to changing my perspective and my attitude so that I could actually step into some kind of recovery.
And also, being the victim puts me in that place where I don't need to take responsibility, because if everyone else is responsible for where I'm at exactly in this point of time, then I don't need to be responsible for me, and I can justify why it's okay for me to pick up and use, and why it's okay for me to wallow in self-pity. Because being in active addiction, when I'm in active addiction, that's a place I'm very comfortable. I'm very comfortable in going down that quagmire of self-pity and sitting in it, because you know what? No one understands me. I'm that different. I feel very weird when I'm around people. I mean, this is my thing. So I get very uncomfortable very quickly because I'm not comfortable within myself to sit within myself.
It also allows us to have that perspective that, well, if you felt as badly as I did, if you only knew what it felt like to be me, then you'd use also. And so that's what we're talking about as far as having that excuse to use, as opposed to having a reason to step into some kind of recovery and learn to live a life that's better.
And it also puts us in that position where it's easy to judge. You know, when I'm sitting within that self pity, I'm very judgmental. I can look at your behavior and I can think, well, I'm better than you or worse than you, or what you're doing is so obnoxious, or what you're doing pissed me off, and why don't you understand? But the thing is, when I'm not sitting in that space and I'm actually in recovery, I'm able to identify with you as a person who's struggling the same way that I am, as an addict that has got challenges every single day and has chosen another path in which to deal with it as well.
Yeah, and when we're looking at others, you guys, and judging others, it's a great tool that we use so that we don't have to look at ourselves. And so not only am I judging you and finding out what's wrong with you, but I certainly don't need to look at myself, right? If I'm paying attention to you and what's happening with you. And we know that that recovery is introspective, that we have to take a look at ourselves, right? Look at what's going on in our life and decide what it is that we have to change about the way that we're thinking so that we can step into recovery. Go ahead, because after I want to bring something up.
And one of those things is we have to reach that point of being willing and open to actually step.
That's why we called tonight. She called me fat. Now, if Angeli walks into the house and she says to me tonight, Felice, you know, you look kind of nice, but I think you gained a couple of pounds. You know, I'd go check yourself in the mirror. I have a choice, right? I can, in my head, say, I can't believe that girl just called me fat, right? Or I, in my head, can say, maybe she needs to take another look because her perspective is skewed. She said the same thing. I either believed what she said and took it to heart, or I didn't believe what she said because I didn't believe that about myself, and I didn't take it to heart. What came out of her mouth was what came out of her mouth. How I received it is how I received it. Allie and I had a really big talk about that the other day, about how somebody puts something out there and you choose to take it personally or not take it personally. I'm going to touch on, because I had a lot of feedback, so a lot of negative feedback, and so I'm getting into the other day when we were having a meeting. I said, which is something that every one of my therapists, by the way, has said to me in the past, and anyone who has a therapist has probably heard something like this if you said you don't want to go to your therapist because it was too expensive. And I say this to my patients when they say they can't afford their therapy or their physical therapy or their medication. I spend $6 a day on Starbucks. I do. So do you. Sometimes you spend $10 because you get us both coffee. And so when I have a $6 Starbucks coffee in my hand, and I'm having one every day, which means I'm spending $35 a week, let's say, ish, which is 3, 6, 9, 12. So I'm spending about $1.25 a month on coffee, and I've decided that I can't pay for my therapist, or I can't pay for my medication, or I can't pay for whatever it needs that I need to be in some kind of, let's say, recovery program. That's a decision that we make. And that's okay, and that's up to us to make that decision or not make that decision. But we were talking about willingness, and we were talking about what lengths will you go to, right, to work on your recovery. And so it was a super easy thing. It's a super easy thing to bring up because visually it's easy, and spiritually everybody understands what I mean. So what I said was, we make choices. We spend our money where we spend our money, right? We spend our time where we spend our time. Right? We spend our love where we spend our love, right? Those are all choices that we make for ourselves. For some reason, I said the Starbucks thing, and everybody decided to take it very, very personally. I don't know who she thinks she's talking to, and you know, and I only buy one coffee a month, and you know what, whatever. You guys, I wasn't talking to anybody. I certainly wasn't thinking of anybody. I was speaking the way that I had been spoken to before, and I was giving an example as to why I understand that I get to pick and choose what I do, again, where I spend my money, where I spend my time, who I share my heart with. Those are choices that I make, whether or not I pick up or I don't pick up, no matter what's going on. What I say is an opinion or a perspective that I have. If you take it personally, you guys, That's about you. I'm never going to say anything out there. And I'll tell you, Allie, when I pick on you, don't I say, Allie, I'm going to call you out right now.
Yeah.
So you know I'm talking to you. Angeli, if I call you out, if I call you guys out, you know that I'm calling you out, right?
Oh, I know.
If I put something out there into the universe and somebody decides to take it personally, you guys, that's about you. And if you do say something if you do take something personally that I've said out there, just to say it out there, I want you to reflect inside of yourself and see why it is that you feel the need to take that personally, or to have the thought even that I'm disrespecting somebody or somebody's thoughts or whatever. Because for me, you guys, and I don't know how to put this nicely, I'm not going to say that nobody out there is important enough for me to bullshit about pointing out. You guys know, for me, I'm straight up. You guys call me abrasive, and I'm comfortable with that. I'm straight up. Karen, I'm going to call you out when I call you out. Robin, I've called you out a whole bunch of times. Guys, when I put something out there, I'm putting it out there. If you take it personally, you take it personally. We learn in recovery, and Allie, that's what you and I had this conversation about. We learn in recovery not to take it personally. Great book, you guys, The 4 Agreements, read it. One of the 4 agreements is not to take it personally. You only take personally what you believe. So you could spend $60 a day on coffee and say, hey, yeah, that's right. You know, I spend $60 a day on coffee, and that's super important to me, and I'm proud of the fact that I do it, and that's what I'm going to do, and never even pay attention to what I say, right? Or you could think that I'm talking to you. That has to do with you and your recovery. Because as you know, if I have a problem with you, I'm going to say, hey, Allie, this happened, and I have a challenge with you, right? And so in our recovery, we get to listen, we get to not judge, and we get to not take on what somebody else said unless we think that it pertains to us. If it does pertain to us, that opens up a conversation that we could have with somebody, right?
Right.
Right. But certainly, when I say something out there, you guys, everything that I say is my opinion about something. And again, if it's ever pointed towards somebody, you guys are going to know exactly who you are. I love you guys so much, and certainly feel comfortable enough to say, hey, this is what I want to talk to you about, and y'all know it, right? So, perspective and how we take things. One of the most important things I'm going to learn in my recovery is that if Haiti is angry with me, doesn't mean that it's about me. If I'm having a conversation, we've had this with each other before, where I'm doing something and you take it personally, and we've had a conversation about it after and found out that it didn't have anything to do with you, right?
Right, because wherever I go, I have a committee that sits inside my head, and I have a million conversations. You got to understand something. I've witnessed a million events that have never happened. Okay,
Right.
I have all these conversations in my head that carry on for hours and hours and hours about the person or what I perceive about a person, and when I actually have a conversation with them, 99% of the time, they either were not aware of it, have a totally different perspective or a totally different recollection of it, or I was just so caught up about something else that I transferred what I was feeling onto them. And, you know, this actually reminds me of a couple of things, because you've touched on really some really great topics. One is my husband and my kids know something. When I say to you, how do I look? I don't want them telling me your ass is fat, okay? They know that that is not the place to go. No, they know that they have to tell me, you look so stunning and so skinny, that is the best outfit, it sucks everything up, and you look like you're 3 sizes smaller. But they don't, okay? They know that this is a minefield. So the stuff that's going on in my head and the stuff that's actually coming out of them are 2 different things. And I also know that when I step into a room, and I first stepped into the rooms and I started going through this, and it happened with Felice as well, my addiction goes with me wherever I go, and it's got a really loud voice. So when it doesn't want me hearing stuff, it becomes all about me, and it becomes all the noise in my head of, don't you know who I am, and how dare you say that to me, and and all the other stuff. And that's part of my addiction, not wanting me to actually be open-minded to listen and to learn and to actually like start stepping into something different, because that's been the most comfortable place for me to resonate. So it's taken a really long time. Each time I walk into a meeting and each time I read something, and I can read the same passage 3 times in one day and read it totally differently. It's the craziest thing. But something shifts in my mind that when I step out of my ego and I just step into a space and be willing to hear things, there's a shift, and I hear things differently and I internalize it differently.
So there's this quote that says that we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And so we look at the world through our own eyes, right? Through those glasses that we wear. And that's the way, so our entire life is just the way we perceive it to be, right? It's just our perspective. It's either a great day or it's a bad day, right? If you and I are walking by each other, so Haiti and I are walking by each other, and you walk and you go to say hello to me, and I bump into you, and I'm looking down on the ground and I keep walking. You have a choice. You could say, Felice, that bitch, I don't know who she thinks she is, and how dare she walk by me, and who she thinks I'm not important enough to say hello to, and how dare she do that. And you could call 64 of your friends and tell them all that story, right? Or I could walk by you, bump into you, and look down on the floor, and you could say, wow, I bet something's bothering Felice today. I hope that she's okay. I'm going to reach out to her later and see if she's okay. The same exact thing happened. The story that you tell yourself is the story that you tell yourself, which, as you say, half the time doesn't have nothing to do with what's coming out of my mouth.
So this reminds me of when we first started working together on my recovery. I mean, firstly, when I first met you, I wanted to know what you wanted. You know, what is in this? What does she want? Why is she doing this? Okay, she's definitely got an ulterior motive. Until I realized that she just does this because she loves me and because I'm an addict and she can relate to me, and this is what she does to pay it forward. But it took me a long time to actually realize that. And I remember the one conversation was right in the beginning, and I said, my life is terrible, okay? It is so hard. It is terrible. I said
that to me.
So I'm from South Africa, okay? I am African, 100%. Second generation from Africa. She goes, you're living in a mud hut with clay floors. You got flies coming out of your eyes. Your life is so terrible. You don't have furniture to sit on.
You have sick babies.
You got sick babies dying. You don't have running water. She goes, no, you've got healthy kids. You've got a wonderful husband. You live in a beautiful home. You've got a great job. You healthy. You're here today. All these things. And it made me stop for a second and go, do you know what? The stuff I tell myself when I actually put it into perspective is so different to the actual reality of it, because it's so much easier for me to sit in that space of feeling sorry for myself when it gives me a reason to use and be miserable and keep staying in misery.
And actually, your reality is only what you make it. So when you decide that your life is horrible and it's terrible and poor you, and the world, has everything against you and everything is so bad, and that's the way your life is. Because that's how you choose to see your life. When you wake up in the morning and you say, oh my God, thank you, universe, for letting me wake up again. And I'm going to go see those kids for a second inside who are going to be a pain in my ass, and I can't wait to hear their voice. And I'm going to get in my car and turn on my stereo and drive to Starbucks and buy myself $6 coffee. And go hang out and go to work and realize how blessed I am to have this day. The same exact things, the same exact events happen in your day. The only thing that's different is our perspective. That's it.
The hardest concept for me to come to grips with in recovery is happiness is a choice.
Happiness is a choice.
We have a choice every
Tattoo it on your forehead.
Every single day. When we are lucky enough to open up our eyes, and for those of us that have got eyes that see and ears that hear and mouths that work and hands that work and legs that work and all the other blessings that we've been given every single day, if we are able to make that choice of being happy, everything shifts in the way that we treat people. If we come from the place of being loving, compassionate, and kind, not only is our world different, but the way we treat ourselves starts with being kind, compassionate, and loving. The way we treat others comes from the same place. And it also stops taking on other people's stuff, that codependency of needing to live in other people's world the way that we think that they see it. Because remember, I'm an addict. I live, I want my insides to match your outside. That's how I want to, when I'm in active addiction, that's exactly how I start seeing the world. I'm always comparing myself to you and how things are better.
And actually, what you do, I say
You do.
What you do is you have your outsides match what you think the other person sees as your outsides.
That's
Right.
true
So
as
you
well.
try to change the way that you are outside to change the way that you feel about me, or to make you happy, or to make you angry, or to make you do something, or to make you whatever. And we know that that don't work, right? Because the only thing that we have control over is our own perspective and our own actions. I have no control over how you think or what you feel or what you do. I only have control over my own actions and my own perspective. And as long as I'm in control of my own perspective, I could decide that today was an amazing day or today was a horrible day. I could look back at my day, and if I looked really hard, could probably figure out 50 things that didn't go right, or figure out 50 things that went absolutely amazingly fabulous. And that's how I decide what my day is.
Ahmed had a question.
Ahmed, you have a question.
Okay.
Okay.
My question is this. So when you choose to sympathize and empathize with others, you tend to take things from a personal viewpoint in order to understand what others are feeling. So my question is, how do you detach yourself enough to be able to empathize and sympathize with others and still maintain that I'm not taking it personally kind of thing?
Okay, so there's a difference between, let's say Angelique's cat died. Okay, she doesn't have a cat, so I could say that. So Angelique's cat died, and I had a cat, right, growing up or whatever, and I can say to Angelique, wow, I'm really sorry that you're sad right now, and I'm really sorry that your cat died, and if there's anything that you need from me, I'm here. Give me a call, right? That's me being empathetic, or sympathetic if I didn't have a cat, being empathetic and reaching out and saying, is there some way that I could be of service, and letting it go. Then there's me going up to Angelique and saying, oh my God, I can't believe it, and the cat, and you know, when I was little, and this happened, and then I call Haiti, and I say, Haiti, you wouldn't believe it, because Angelique's cat died, and you know, and this happened, and when I was little, and this happened, and then I call you, and my patients come in, and I talk to them. Now I'm in the middle of somebody else's chaos that has nothing to do with my own life. You know, when something, I'm gonna let you talk, when something horrible in the news happens, I don't watch the news, because for me it's very, very depressing. And if there's going to be a hurricane, somebody's going to tell me to go buy wood and board up my windows. So when people call me and tell me, you wouldn't believe what happened to this little girl in Arkansas and her next door, my stock answer is, if you're taking up a collection to send some money to the family, call me back. Otherwise, stop talking about what you're talking about, because it doesn't have anything to do with me. Right? So I can get in the middle of everything else that's happening that's bad around me, or I could be of service and say, hey, if there's something that I can help you out with, please let me know. And I can really feel, especially when I'm empathizing with somebody that's gone through something that I've gone through, and I know how that feels, and I can still offer myself, right? I can still be of service. As soon as I decide to take on somebody else's chaos as my own, that's codependency. So now I'm going to have a good or a bad day because Angelique's cat died. Angelique is having a bad day because her cat died, because she feels sad. I don't need to have a bad day because Angelique feels sad. I can just reach out my hand and be of service to her and say, how can I help you today? That's my difference. So I don't know if that explained anything,
So-
but that's how I see it.
From my perspective, and just to put things in perspective, because I really need to keep things really simple. So when I'm in active addiction, Angelique tells me at 8 o'clock in the morning her cat died. I've been spinning this in my head and telling everyone until 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and my whole day has been terrible because Angelique's cat died. And not only that, as an addict, when I'm in active addiction, I thrive on chaos, because chaos justifies why I can pick up that joint at night. It's been such a crazy day, I have to relax, okay? I just need to unwind and things are so chaotic. Or I need to pick up that pizza or whatever it is to be able to quell the thing that I'm feeling. Because you know what? I've created all this chaos in my world. I'm absolutely exhausted. My mind is racing, and it really had nothing to do with me. And I've spent the whole day and all that energy focused on Angelique's cat that passed away.
And if we're not in active addiction, because remember, a lot of us aren't in active addiction. It doesn't mean that, okay, I put down the opiates so I don't put myself in the middle of anybody's chaos anymore. There are a lot of people that don't use their drug of choice or use any drug and still find themselves in. So you guys, active addiction is chaos. And so when we talk about spiritual recovery, we talk about living by the spiritual principles behind the steps, right? Chaos ain't one of the spiritual principles. Chaos, when it says, asking for God's will for us and the power to carry that out, they ain't talking about us getting in the middle of everybody else's chaos, right? And so even when we're not going to pick up, sometimes us just putting our faces in somebody else's negative business and bringing it onto ourselves, that's enough chaos to be how it was spiritually when we were in active addiction, even if we're not using. So you guys, we put down our drug of choice, but a lot of us, we talk about this often, Angela, there's a lot of difference between abstinence and recovery. We know that we have to get abstinent to get clean. We know that we have to get clean to step into recovery. And we know that we have to stay in recovery to stay clean. But that recovery that we stay in is a spiritual change. It's about learning to do the next right thing. It's about learning to change our perspective. It's about being of service. It's about being honest. It's about walking with integrity. It's all of those things. All of those things, honesty, integrity, brotherly love, perseverance, they don't have anything to do with being in the middle of somebody else's chaos.
And one of the things that I keep thinking about, because for many of us that are abstinent in terms of drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, it's very, very clear. I mean, in terms of our guidelines, and it's really, really clear what that looks like. I've been getting a lot of emails and messages about people going, can I do this? Can I have that? And I just want to also point out something. We're not nutritionists. It's not what we do here. We don't give people food plans or diet plans or anything like that, because that for us is not recovery. Recovery is really looking at what motivates us. What is my motives for getting behind and involved in Angelique's cat's death? Okay, what is it? Do I want to look good? Do I want to feel good? Why am I actually putting my place? Do I want to feel important?
Do I want to feel needed? Do I want to feel loved?
So what is the motive behind that, rather than looking at this as another diet plan or another reason? Okay, so really those kind of questions, you're asking the wrong people about that. That stuff you go talk to your health practitioners and your dietitians and all those kinds of people. We dealing behind what takes us to that point that motivates us to actually get through that case. Because one of the things that I've learned in recovery is I'm learning about me. The hardest person to get to know is me. And if I understand those things that we call the character challenges that we have every single day, is why do I react to things the way that I do? That's a learning process to me, but I have to be open, willing, and honest, most of all, to be able to look at that within myself, to be able to go, aha, that is it. I want to feel needed. I like feeling important. I want Angelique to go, you are the best friend ever because you're the most sensitive, and thank you. That's what. Exactly. I got the gold star.
So you mean it's not about the food?
It's
really not about the alcohol, and it's not about the opiates, and it's not about starving ourselves, and it's not about throwing up. It's not about that. It's about, what am I feeling? What is happening inside of me that I feel the need to change? What am I feeling, and how am I going to change those feelings or not feel at all, right? So what am I going to stuff myself with so that I can pay attention to stuffing myself and pay attention to what it is that I'm eating, as opposed to paying attention to why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling and how do I change my perspective so that I could change my actions. You got it? You good?
So I would love to get some feedback.
You would? You're gonna let somebody else talk?
I've been rambling and talking.
Wow.
So I think, do you want to start on this side for a change?
I want to start wherever you want to start. So that's codependency.
Yes. Let's check in with Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Hi everyone, how are you?
We're great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You know, it doesn't have, you're right, it doesn't have anything to do with what I put in my mouth. It has to do with what I'm feeling. And when you were talking about judging people and taking things personally, I really find there's a real tight relationship between what I see in other people that bothers me are things that I'm bothered about in myself.
Correct.
And it took a long time to really realize that and to put some legs on that and make some traction with it.
Correct. Can you think of anything specifically? Since I do call you out all the time.
Yeah, it's really specifically about judging people and thinking, well, I'm better than she is. I look at people as on their outside and say, well, at least this or at least that, and it's a real eye opener to look in the mirror and realize that I'm doing that, and I feel badly about people. I judge people when they're doing that, and yet I'm doing the very same thing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you. Thanks. Robin, you want to check in?
Sure, I'll check in.
Hi, Robin.
Not quite sure what to say on this particular topic.
Okay.
I think for me, it's not necessarily an issue of looking at other people and belittling them. It's looking at other people and desiring those same attributes in myself that I think I have more of an issue with.
And when you say desire, is that a nice way to say I'm jealous?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because Angeli and I had a huge problem about that to begin with, right? We were talking about something and I used the word jealous and then you hated me for like the whole day, remember?
Yes, you said I was jealous.
Yes,
yeah.
I said you were jealous. And that word has a very negative
You look at something
connotation.
and you're like, oh, I want that lifestyle. I wish that was me.
Yeah, okay,
Why-
so
why
you're
can't that
jealous.
be me?
Okay.
I say that all the time to myself.
Okay. All right. So that's okay. And so recognizing it is super important. And to say so if I'm jealous of you, it's because I'm fearful, right? So we say all of our negative emotions are fear based,
Connection to fear. for
right?
sure.
I'm afraid of losing, not getting what I want, or losing what I have. And so if
Right.
I'm jealous of you, it's because I'm afraid I'm not going to get what I want, something that you have that I don't have, whether
Right.
it's spiritual or actual, right? And that we need to
Totally.
turn around, look at ourselves and say, well, what feelings do we have? Where does that come from? Well, it comes from me not feeling good enough, or me feeling unlovable,
Yeah.
right? Or me feeling like, nobody's going to want me, or if I don't have this other outside stuff. And so once we
Right.
realize what that is, then we can work with our group or our community and work on changing it so that we can change our perspective. How do we change our perspective? We look at ourselves and we look at how grateful we are for everything that we have and everything that's around us, right? As opposed to looking at you and thinking about what I don't have, I can look at myself and see how fortunate I actually am, right? And once I change that perspective, I don't have anything to be jealous about anymore.
Right.
Because when
Instead
I
of
see
saying, "I
somebody,
wish
when I see
I
some
was
35-year-old pull up next to me in a Mercedes, I could have the attitude, well, I bet she never worked a day in her life and she has a rich husband who's 103 years old, right? Or I could say, you go, girl. Awesome car. I hope you have a great day, right? Either one of those thoughts can, I could think nothing of it, or I could think one of two things. It's my perspective, right? Am I jealous because I'm not going to have that? Or am I glad for her because she got a really cool car? Right? And
Yeah,
when
that's cool. I
I'm
like it.
jealous and I'm pissed off, by the way, because this chick is never going to know me, doesn't know me. So if I'm walking around pissed off, and then of course I call Haiti and I say, you wouldn't believe this little bitch in the new Mercedes, whose husband is probably 106 years old, driving fast right next to me. And then I call my friends and I tell everybody else about it, right? Now I'm in the middle of somebody else's bullshit, which is really my own bullshit, you guys, right? My own angst about not feeling good enough. And so whose day is it ruining?
Yours.
The chick in the Mercedes who doesn't know me, who never had a thought about me, Or is it me walking around being negative about something that is none of my business? It's none of my business, right? If I say, oh, cool girl with the cool car, that's awesome. And maybe I'll even call Haiti later and say, wow, I saw this gorgeous chick in this gorgeous car. It was so cool, right? Okay, I took somebody else's stuff and got happy about it. That's not going to hurt me. But any of those negative feelings that I have is always because I feel less than. And so that's what we want to take a look at. Why do I feel less than? How did I look at the world growing up? What made me the way that I am, and how do I fix it? We have challenges, we have solutions, you guys. And so recovery is about recognizing the challenge and stepping into the solution. Right? And that's me changing my perspective. So I'm going to learn how to live. I'm going to take the way that I was and change it to the way that I want to be so that I can learn how to be happy, joyous, and free.
So we had a question from someone online, and they said they're not very clear about creating or getting into someone's chaos. Let's say your friend lost a family member and you knew that person.
Okay, well, so here's the thing. You're allowed to be sad. Of course you're allowed to be sad, and you're going to be sad. Somebody passes away and it's somebody that you loved, of course you're going to be sad. And of course you're going to feel sad for your friend. But that doesn't mean that you make that sadness somebody else's sadness or even your sadness. Absolutely everything that's happening in your world. And when something horrible happens, you guys, my 17-year-old son died in an accident. You want to talk about living in my own fear and my own chaos? Because I was 36 years old and I was the straightest person on the planet. And he died the day I graduated from medical school. And it took me in a completely other direction in my life. And I learned how to be very scared and very sad and petrified of waking up in the morning. And that's when I started using. So I get that stuff happens and that we feel horrible and that we don't know how to deal. When you're feeling scared or alone or sad, reach out. Make sure that you get some help. Did my kid die? Yes. Did I have to kill myself for the next 10 years? No, I didn't have to. I could have gotten some help. Ego-wise, did I need to look perfect on the outside? Because 2 weeks after your kid dies, everybody stops, bringing you flowers, right? Did I need to be perfect and the mom who still had everything, who was doing everything, who was, going to work and raising her other kids and looking great on the outside so nobody would see me inside? Yeah, I did that too. So stepping into, going through something and learning how to work through it takes time, depending on what that tragedy is. As far as Angelique's cat goes, it's really not that much of my business. God forbid if somebody that she loved passed away and I was friends with them, of course I'm going to be sad. And of course I'm going to be scared, right? When somebody dies, we're scared, right? We know that we've lost something that we had that we're not going to get back. Reaching out, getting some help, and doing our best to change our perspective so that we could go on with our life, that's going to be a part of our recovery. It has to be. Or we're going to get sick and scared, and for me, become an addict, alcoholic, anorexic. And that really didn't get me anywhere good.
So when we're talking about getting help, one of the things that we created is, the worst place for an addict to be is alone and afraid. So we created an online group on Facebook. It's a closed membership group. It's called What's Eating You. It's where you can ask for help. You can post what's going on. We in totally different time zones because people join us from all around the world at different times. And someone always answers. Someone always reaches out. So we post our gratitude there. We post whatever's challenging us, whatever we're thinking. We post there so we can get support and be in community. And you know what? We all have crazy thoughts. I mean, this is one of the things that ties together is that there's nothing that any of us have thought that someone else hasn't thought or felt at a certain stage.
Or even done.
Or
that
done.
Somebody else hasn't done at a certain stage.
Right.
We're not unique, you guys.
We aren't that special.
We're just people.
Exactly.
We're just some girls.
So it's just really having that additional support. And we're working on a website where we're going to be able to integrate everything because a lot of people don't like Facebook. Because of the chaos, I try to stay away as much as possible because a lot of stuff happens there and it's very easy as my addictive brain to get sucked into it. But the one place I always do check in is on What's Eating You because that's where my community is. We're also on WhatsApp. So if you find that isn't helping you, WhatsApp us, IM us, message us, email us. There are a million ways to get to reach us.
And so we're gonna go
Yep,
around.
let's go.
Ange, you gonna share tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to say something real quick about the Starbucks thing.
Okay, getting back to the Starbucks thing.
Getting back to the Starbucks thing. I think for me, it was really cool that happened and everyone reacted the way that they did, because I'm going to be selfish for a second and let me gain perspective and see, like, wow, I've come so far in my recovery. I wasn't even fazed by this. And I just think back to, like, I know that I grew up in recovery with you in Haiti. We spent every other day together for months in the beginning, you know, and I think, and then thereafter I worked on recovery with you and step work, and I think all that time working in my recovery, thankfully, gave me that opportunity to change how I thought, because I would have thought probably how you described everyone else's reactions and more.
And that's how you were.
I know.
When I met you.
That's what I meant.
If
That's
I
how
said the
was.
sky was blue, you took it personally.
Yeah.
Really.
I
Really.
know.
She took everything that I said or did or every tone in my voice personally.
Yeah, I would ask you, why did you say something like that?
I'm like, because I said something like that.
Yeah, and I thought
because
that
I did.
I always thought you were mad at me, or because of how you said certain things. So long story short, I just appreciate that little scenario, and I hope that whoever the people were who had an issue take it as an opportunity to grow in their recovery, because it's an excellent opportunity if there ever was one.
Yeah, it was. And Allie and I did some learning together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really, really cool. So thanks so much, because we shared a lot about that. So thank
Yeah.
you. That was very cool of you. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank
Do you want to say your name? Nobody, the only people that can see you are us.
Mhm.
We're on Facebook where we can be heard, but
Mm-hmm.
we can't be seen except for these two faces. So do you feel comfortable enough to introduce yourself?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. My name is Amy,
Hi, Amy.
and I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry, I was late. It was like a.
We don't say I'm
So we
sorry,
don't say I'm
excuse me.
sorry? Okay.
In
I'm
this
not
room, we
sorry.
say I'm awesome.
I'm awesome.
I'm
yes.
awesome, and I walked in a little late, and I
Yes.
blessed you with my presence. So thank you for blessing us with your presence.
Thank you for having me. I had reserved to come to the group, and because I want to, yeah, I guess I want to recover. I
Okay.
think that would be nice.
What was your reservation?
my
Let's talk about that, because those are the things we talk about.
my reservation in coming, I was intending to come, but at the last, like today, I started saying, well, no, I gotta do this, you know, those little things, excuses and things that you make. And I was talking to my son on the phone, and when I hung up, I said, oh, it's too late to go.
And why do we make those excuses?
Um,
Do you know why?
in my case, probably avoidance, you know.
Right, and why do we avoid?
It's too real.
Right, we're scared.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, good, because every single one of us is scared.
yeah.
Yeah.
But 2017 was, I'll say, a lost year. It was a bad year.
Okay,
And it started off in January. I lost my son. And
I'm sorry for your loss.
thank you. I lost my son, and I went into just total and complete isolation, depression,
Mhm.
what have you. Prior to that, I had anticipated 2017 to be, it's going to be so great. So many things were happening. I had lost weight through diet and exercise. I lost 150 pounds, and you know, I was going to be coming out in 17, and then that happened January 12th, and forget it, nothing. And so during my isolation, as you can see, I gained back most of my weight, because I was just really just eating and crying. And
Right, you're
eating and
stuffing
crying.
yourself or stuffing your feelings,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes. But then, you know, I started to try to come out, and I wasn't working. I wasn't, you know, I used to call my savings at work. But anyway, I wasn't working. I was just literally just eating and crying in my house for quite quite some time, 6.5 months.
Mhm.
But then one day it just hit me, and I said, okay, that's enough of this, Amy. You got to get yourself together. So I started, coming out and this and that, and getting a little better and trying to expand. And I ended the year better than I was, but I didn't celebrate Christmas. I'm a big Christmas person.
Okay.
But I didn't decorate, I didn't put up a tree, I didn't celebrate, I didn't do anything. But New Year's, I said, okay, let's do this. And just feeling spiritually empowered, I started 2018. And it started out like amazing. My first client was phenomenal. It was like I couldn't believe that that he found me or what have you. It was just God directing him. But I had a great client. I met a guy, and it's just wonderful.
So I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I'm going to let you know that my best therapist that I've ever had, shout out to Carol if you're watching, taught me that grieving is not an event, right? It's something that we go through. And that the period that you're going through now where you've decided to be so sad and all of a sudden get better, that it doesn't work like that. And that I understand that you're acting great on the outside and that you're working on yourself. And I understand that having a great client is about the client. It's not about how I feel. And sometimes having a great man, especially then, because I met Jimmy then, having a great man, especially then, also can be a diversity. So when those things are happening, it's still the time for you to have some quiet time and to be working on yourself spiritually and paying attention to everything that you're feeling. You stepped into this room full of strangers and shared your story, which is very, very courageous of you. And so I want to thank you for sharing that with us, because that was pretty amazing. Recovery is something that we work on all the time. And I'm really super glad that you're here. And I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're happy. And the times when you're not happy, we're going to be just as glad that you're here. So I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you so much for coming here tonight.
Thank you.
Miss Molly, you want to share?
I'm okay.
Okay. Molly's going to share in 2020. Good morning. Good morning. Good evening. How are you, Denise?
Fantastic.
Anything you want to share tonight? Just hanging out, listening?
Yep.
All right. Miss Allie, you want like some boxing gloves? You can beat me up tonight because I'm comfortable with that.
No, I don't feel beat up on.
Okay. No, I said you want to beat up on me.
Oh.
Not do you feel beat up on?
No, I don't. Do I have anything to say? No.
You don't have anything to say? Because your demeanor says that you do. So perhaps you don't, and I'm reading you wrong.
I'm trying to think. No, I mean, I think that, there's a lot of great points that were touched on tonight. I certainly consider myself to be somebody who's pretty sensitive and take a lot of, other people's shit on myself. And, this recovery process, I have done a lot of work, but I have tons of work to do.
Y'all do.
So yeah, you're right. It is the lessons. It's the lessons that we learn today, and we might not see the changes today, but even, the things that happened to me in January, it's only today that I see how it was beneficial.
Do me a favor, baby. Can you rephrase that and say the challenges that I had or the things that I went through as opposed to the things that happened to me? I just want you to think about that, because remember, chemically, our brain hears what we say and reacts to what we say. So when I say, it took me forever to be able to say my son died, it didn't happen to me, it happened, right? That was the lesson that I had to learn so I can move forward in my life. So I want you to think about that when we talk that way, so that your brain hears, I had these challenges that I overcame, or there was some stuff going on that I worked through, okay?
Yeah.
So because you do work through them,
yeah,
right? And that's
true.
the amazing part.
It's true, even though it feels like it's never gonna end. It's maddening sometimes, and then it ends, and then of course there will be other challenges, and then we get over those things and we learn lessons, and so yeah.
Thank you. And thanks for the conversation the
No,
other day. It
thank
was
you.
really important to me.
Me as well. Thank,
Thank you. Miss Sarah,
Hi.
hi, how are you?
I'm doing
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you guys too. I'm glad to be here. I'm doing really great as far as, staying clean and not, keeping out of active addiction. It's 80 days and I'm happy and grateful for
No
that.
purging, right? No purging for 80 days. God bless you.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm
You have 90 days
exercising.
in 10 days. You have 3
Yeah,
months.
I'm really glad for that. I'm exercising. I'm doing things that make me, keep me strong and healthy and going. I think the tough part for me is that I suffer a lot in my mind,
Mhm.
not about the food or anything else, but I'm a compulsive, obsessive person. Things come in my head and I sit there and obsess about it, and it's definitely a suffering, something I suffer with, and I think I'm still a closed book, so I still feel maybe embarrassed to reach out or whatever I'm feeling, so I just hold the things inside of
So
me.
I want you to say, I'm still scared.
I'm still scared about
Okay.
the things that I feel or think, and sometimes
Okay.
it's crazy what I'm thinking or whatever.
And so remember when we talk about fear, it's right, it's not getting what I want or losing what I have. And so that's perhaps a good thing for you to think about. And then when you're having a moment where you're petrified, what tools do you have to get out of being petrified for that moment?
I don't think I have.
I want to jump in here because Sarah's one of the people who's in service with us, and she welcomes newcomers to the group. And I know that takes a lot because she steps out of herself, but she's awesome with it. And that's one of the ways that we also get out of how we're feeling is being of
Absolutely.
service. And
Absolutely.
That's valuable.
So that's one of the things. So that's a super important thing. So when I have crazy in my head and I call Allie and I say, hi, baby, I was thinking about you. How is your day today? That allows me to be of service to Allison, to check in to make sure she's okay, and to get me out of my own shtick that's happening in my head, right? Also, to sit down and to write 3 things that I'm grateful for, or to call Ange and say, hey, Ange, I just made a gratitude list and I want to go over it with you. Do you have a sec? Right? To get yourself out of the space that you're ruminating in, right? So use, I know that you know what those tools are. By the way, used to come in here petrified. Used to come in here and you could see on your face all that chaos. So I don't know if you can see the difference, and I don't mean physically, because physically, okay, there's a difference or not a difference. I don't pay that much attention to you guys like that, but spiritually there's a difference. And so if it's this much, it could be this much of a spiritual leap. So please pat yourself on the back for that. Know that you're growing. They say in the rooms it's progress, not perfection, right? Because we're never going to get that gold star, right? And know that you can move forward and reach out to your community. That's what they're there for.
So for people out there that struggle with what service is, when you see someone posting on what's eating you and you like what they post, give them a thumbs up, give them a bit of love, show them a heart, say thank you for sharing. There are many ways of reaching out to someone to say, hey, you're not alone, that you don't need to always pick up a phone if you're not comfortable with it, but there are ways of reaching out. So utilize that, because for that split second, you're reaching out to another addict. And that person values that feedback. We love feedback. There's nothing worse than feeling alone and isolated out there.
Because that's what we do, right?
Right, and that's what
We
we're
isolate.
really good
One
at
of the
doing.
things, we need to work on not doing.
And it can also be as simple as when you're out in the stores and there's someone who's got 2 items behind you, let them go in front of you. You know, it doesn't need to be these grand gestures of being of service. You see someone who is at the side of the road and they're begging, give them a protein bar, give them a bottle of water. You know, there's many ways of doing things that are just, we don't need to tell people what we did. It just feels really good on the inside doing cool stuff. I mean, that makes me
Random
happy.
acts of kindness, you guys, what makes the world go round, right?
So-
And it's like from our hippie time, right?
So you mentioned about gratitude. Gratitude, not every day is a beautiful day and not everything is a fabulous day, but I guarantee you there are 3 things you can find that were good that happened every single day. And for some of us, as we start doing this more, there's more and more and more things to be grateful for. So we post and share our gratitude. Firstly, it helps it get out there, because when we write it, we actually see it and we feel it. Instead of just thinking, we spend a lot of time thinking. That's part of our disease. And also it inspires other people. I get inspired reading other people's gratitude. It makes me happy.
And gratitude begets gratitude, you guys. It's just the way that it is. Positivity begets positivity. So share the love, man. There's plenty to go around.
And also, do you know what? Give yourself a pat on the back and go, do you know what my strength for today is? I showed up. I got out of bed. Whatever it is, put it out there. So we do that on What's Eating You in Facebook. We do that on WhatsApp. We IM us, we email us, whatever it takes. Get it out of you and put it out into the universe.
Miss Molly, have you been doing gratitude lists every night? No. Do you want to start to do that? I'm going to challenge you for the next 7 days. 7-day challenge, baby. 7 days. Just start.
Actually, can I jump in here? Today. Do it for today. And do it just for today, for every 24 hours.
For the next 7 days.
For the next 7 days. And if you do it just every single day, the days take care of themselves.
Semantics, but true.
So
7 days, things that you're grateful for. Okay, please? Thank you. Thanks for taking that challenge.
So I know there was a lot of controversy about the workshop. And let me just put it out there. We reach thousands and thousands and thousands of people with every single meeting. Okay, there are thousands of people out there. The workshop is not for everybody. It is something that we do, okay, because we were asked to do it and because we feel that it works and it's something that people get something out of. There are only 25 people in a group. It's really not thousands of people allowed in because we just don't have the capacity to do that. Felice wrote a workbook. It is awesome. It's not something you can buy because you need to be part of the process. This is how it works. And I promise you it's something that lasts forever.
Well, unless you want to pay the money that it pays for the workshop.
Yeah, but that
You get the
includes
book,
all your
you can.
treatment and the thousands and millions of dollars that you
It's
spend on
available.
development. Yeah. No, for most of us, it's not that available. So anyway, if you're interested, let us know. IM us. It's all up on Facebook. We're not sure going to beat that. But I just wanted to say that we're reaching the top of the hour. We do meet every Sunday morning at 9 a.m.
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time, and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. They are 1 hour meetings. I urge you to jump into the room on Zoom because it gives you a voice. It's great seeing the messages on Facebook, but the screen's this big and I'm old and I don't get to read all your messages up there.
I'm older.
Right, so just step into the room because we can hear you, and you're also welcome if you're in Southeast Florida to step into the physical room, which does take courage, but we actually are an awesome bunch. Come join us face to face, and we will see you again on Sunday.
Can I read the promises real
You
quick?
can
Real
read
quick.
what-
I want to read the promises.
You can do whatever you
Okay,
want.
I'm going to read the promises from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous because they're awesome and because they're true. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down that scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that the universe does for us what we can't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We don't think so. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but they will always materialize if we work for them. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm blessed and grateful for every one of you that joins, that helps me stay clean and helps me move forward in my recovery.
And I'm blessed and grateful for all of you to be here tonight, to be in recovery, and for all of you teach me so much. Have a beautiful week. We'll see you on
Recovery
Sunday.
is awesome, you
It
guys.
is awesome.
Peace out.
Peace out, everybody.
Thank you.